Hello everybody. Today we will be reviewing Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. So I do have my notes, as usual. So actually this one starts out with a quote before the movie even begins. The quote is called White Horse, and I thought this was kind of important to the film because of what happens throughout the entirety of the film. So the quote says, linked to instinct, purity, and the drive of physical body, to release powerful and emotional forces like rage with ensuing chaos and destruction. And it says the excerpt, if I'm pronouncing that properly, is from the subconscious psychosis of dreams. So that this ties into the film because there's a lot of dream sequences in this movie. So we start off with a flashback of Michael's mom visiting him at Smith Groves, talking about dreams. So right off the bat, we're right into the dream sequences. He said that his mom was dressed in all white, walking down a white hallway with a white horse. So again, back to the quote of the white horse. Saying she is going to take Michael home. Unfortunately, in the first film, we already know that Michael can't go home due to what he's done. So then we go to 15 years later, where Laurie is walking down the street, completely covered in blood. From the first movie, we know what just happened. With the gun still in her hand, the one that she shot Michael with. A cop car approaches. Brackett gets out of the car, takes the gun from Laurie, and Laurie starts repeating that she's killed Michael. Then Laurie goes to the hospital. Dr. Loomis comes out of the building. He's put into an ambulance. The coroners take Michael. Then as the coroners are driving down the street, there's this talk of necrophilia. The coroners then hit a cow. Michael wakes up, kicks out the back door of the van, kills the coroner. He then sees his mother down the street, walks towards her. Then we go back to the hospital. Laurie has woken up now. She slowly limps down the hallway, and by the way, her injuries were like horrific. She had like a broken leg, something else was broken, cuts all over her face, her arms. Yeah, it was a pretty horrific scene in the hospital when she was getting treatment. So she then goes to Annie's room to check on Annie. The nurse takes Laurie back to the room, or back to her own room, but gets a call to emerge on the way there. Laurie then turns around, calls out for the nurse to get her some meds because she's feeling dizzy. There's nobody there. Laurie's leaning on the counter. She says it one more time. The nurse comes around the corner, is bleeding. Laurie runs and Michael appears from around the corner. Michael stabs. Oh man, it just, like, I know I'm laughing, but I really shouldn't be. But it's just the craziness of this scene is just, it's horrific, but it's like, I mean, I have a very dark sense of humor, so it's like kind of crazy to me, but also funny at the amount of time they put into the scenes, like the actual killing scenes in this movie, because he stabs her 11 times, and she's already dead, like, so it was just over excessive. But that's Rob Zombie, and that's what kind of makes me enjoy his films, is the extra bit of time that he puts into these scenes to make you kind of cringy, but also, if you're a fan of horror, you're loving it at the same time. It's hard to explain if you're not a fan of horror movies or slasher films. I wouldn't say cringe. I would just say, like, you can kind of feel like the chills, I guess. So it's not a cringe thing. It's chills, I guess, would be a better way to describe it rather than cringe, because I wasn't cringing during that. Yeah, it wasn't a cringy thing. Anyway, I'm rambling on now. So Laurie runs, right? She's descending down the stairs. She finds another nurse dead. She then makes it outside as Michael follows. She then falls into this pit of dead bodies. I'm assuming that would be, it looked to me like all the hospital staff that Michael had killed is what she fell into. She screams for help. She crawls into the security office. The security guard comes back. The security guard's name is Buddy. He goes out to get his car. Laurie starts calling for him, no answer. He comes back to unlock the door, and Michael kills him with an axe. Because he grabbed one when he was inside the hospital. Laurie hides under the desk. Michael begins to break through the walls of the security office. The axe comes down toward Laurie, and she wakes up. So it's now October 29th. She's in a bed at her wherever she's living now. So it's now 2 years later. It is October 29th. Laurie looks in the mirror and repeats to herself that he's dead, referring to Michael. Annie and her father talk about Laurie screaming through the night, so she still hasn't clearly completely gotten over what happened to her. Annie and Laurie then have an argument. Laurie is getting psychiatric treatment. She talks about not getting closure due to the fact of not finding Michael's body. Laurie also says that Annie is a constant reminder of what happened due to having to see Annie's injuries every day as well, and she blames herself for that. Laurie sees the white horse on the painting on the wall. It's one of those weird paintings where it's like what you see is your perception on certain things. A good example of that, if anybody remembers The Watchmen, the mask that moved constantly. If anybody has seen The Watchmen, you would understand what I'm saying. Kind of make that connection. Laurie works at a record store, which I thought was kind of important because she's kind of gone into like the punk scene, I guess. So she's made new friends. I would say she's kind of used like rock and roll and that aggressive attitude as an outlet for herself for the last couple of years. Dr. Loomis is at a book event. A clip of Michael plays in the background before he walks out on stage of him being told his mother's passed away. And Michael doesn't understand. He's totally like disregards the whole comment and then says something about to the effect of he won't see his mother, or no, he'll see his mother again, but he won't see Dr. Loomis again. Dr. Loomis begins taking questions. He's then questioned about Michael and the events. He then gets mad at the crowd, tells them Michael is dead. And that shows Michael walking through a field towards a barn. He's following his mother. These farmers come back out and check to see if Michael's still there. They get out of the truck and begin to threaten him. They then beat him. The woman gets out of the truck, apologizes to Michael. They're all going to get back in the truck when Michael gets up, puts on his mask, grabs his knife, and then kills all three of them. Then it shows Laurie, Annie, and Brackett sitting down for dinner. They're having pizza. Just before this, it showed Michael with his knife wringing it off the dog's cage, so he's killed the dog as well, and he is eating the dog while Annie's dad is talking about we all have a little bit of like animalistic instinct in us. We're supposed to be eating meat. We all have that little bit of like caveman type personality. So then Laurie gets sick because I guess she could kind of like that connection was felt again, I guess, in a weird way. So then we go to October 30th. It then shows Michael entering Haddonfield. Dr. Loomis does an interview outside of the Myers house, even though his agent tells him that's probably not a great idea. Sorry, I was just checking to make sure it was actually recording. Then we go to Laurie seeing herself killing Annie in the same costume Michael was in as a child. Instead of Michael taping his stepfather down to the chair, it's Laurie taping Annie down to the chair and killing her. She starts to have a seizure. She's having all these hallucination type things. The most important one was she sees Michael's mother over grave marked Myers with her in the coffin. She then starts freaking out inside of it. Then she kind of comes back to. She grabs her pills. Then the next day at her psychiatric meeting, she talks about the attack she had while she was awake. She freaks out on her no, it's not a psychic. Anyway, she freaks out on the person who's there, asks for more meds. This woman tells her they're going to give her something to tide her over. She says no, she wants her own meds. She then leaves. Brackett watches Dr. Loomis on the TV as he blames the sheriff department for losing Michael's body. And if you know, is it Brandon? Where's my phone? Sorry, I'm just going to look this up for a second because this scene was actually really creepy. I believe it's Brad Dourif. I believe that's his name, but I want to get this right because he is a phenomenal actor in the horror genre of movies. He was also in one of the Lord of the Rings movies, which I found that out when I looked him up. But I believe if my phone would load faster, that would be great. Oh, come on. Sorry. Brad Dourif, not Dourif. Okay. Yes, Brad Dourif. He's the one that plays Brackett. So this scene was kind of creepy, because if you know him from his background of Chucky, yeah, the room was completely dark, and you could just see like the menacing look on his face as he's watching Dr. Loomis on TV, blaming him basically for losing the body. It was just like, you could see like, kind of like the killer instinct in him as well. So that scene was really well done. Michael then shows up at the strip club his mom used to work at. He hallucinates his mother on stage, tells him that only a river of blood can bring the bed together, meaning the family. He has to kill to bring the family back together. So he kills one of the employees of the strip club outside. It's at night, so it's closed. There's only him, the owner, and one other stripper, I guess. So he kills one employee outside. He then goes inside, has a hallucination of his mother, and then kills the owner and the other girl in there. We then go to October 21st. Brackett is reading Dr. Loomis's book. Begins getting angry. Immediately calls Annie and asks if he can speak to Laurie. Laurie sees Dr. Loomis's book for sale in the store window. Michael sees an advertisement for it on the billboard at the same time. Then we go to Dr. Loomis signing books. A man with a photo begins talking to Loomis. The photo is of Linda from the first movie who was killed. And the man is Linda's father. He threatens to kill Loomis. Loomis tells everybody to calm down when he pulls out a gun on him and security takes him out. Laurie reads the book in the car, begins to freak out. Laurie comes home, grabs her stuff while she's kind of arguing with Annie again. When she's leaving, she tells Annie to tell Brackett that Angel says "fuck you" as she's leaving the house. Then Annie and Brackett are on the phone. Annie tells her father that Laurie just came in, got her stuff, and left. Brackett then tells an officer to go over to his house to keep an eye on Annie. Laurie tells her friends that she is Angel Myers, Michael Myers' sister, so her friends from the record store is who she's telling this to. Dr. Loomis does a TV interview for the book. He just gets basically made fun of the entire time he's doing it. Laurie and her friends go to the Halloween party because Laurie wants to go party to keep her mind off of the fact that she's Michael Myers' sister now. The cop shows up to watch over Annie. One of Laurie's friends goes off with this guy to his van. Michael kills them both. And I don't think they ever touched on that again other than just because I don't remember them ever finding their bodies. So he just kind of kills them, and then that was the end of that storyline, I guess, for them too, which kind of sucks. Dr. Loomis watches his TV spot. He realizes that his career is basically over now. He's been ruined due to this because it was more of a comedy thing than anything else. Well, not on his part. He was trying to take it seriously, but he was being made fun of during the entire TV spot that he had. So, yeah, his career is kaput now. Laurie calls for her friend Maya. Maya was the one that went to the van. She then starts to get dizzy. When she looks up, she sees Michael's mother, and Michael has a child in front of her. She asks what they want from her, and then it shows Michael grabbing her from behind. It's really not Michael, it's somebody else. And then she comes to again screaming. when her other friend grabs her and says, "We gotta go." Oh no, sorry. Maya is the one that she was calling for, the one that grabs her. My bad. I messed that up. So Laurie and Maya leave. Laurie asks where Carly is. Carly was the one that went to the van and died. Brackett calls Annie again. He's on the phone with Annie as the cop that's watching over Annie leaves the porch, goes down, lights a smoke beside this tree, and then Michael comes out from behind the tree and kills him. Annie goes upstairs. All of a sudden we see Michael's mother and kid Michael right behind her. She turns on the tub, opens the cabinet, closes it, and Michael's standing right there behind her in the doorway. It takes her a couple seconds to realize. She then turns, sees Michael standing there, she runs, and the sounds of screams are heard. So, like, you can hear her screams and, like, a whole bunch of stuff being wrecked, and then a couple, like, stabbing noises. So you know that clearly Michael got to her and possibly killed her. Sorry, my phone's going off, but I have no idea who it is. Someone answering. Laurie and Maya go back to Laurie's house, or I guess she's staying with Brackett and Annie, so technically it's their house. But anyway, they go back to the house. They begin to make tea. It shows Michael walking down the hallway behind them. Laurie and Maya go upstairs. Laurie turns the light on to see that the place is trashed. It starts showing flashbacks of Annie's fight with Michael. Laurie and Maya then find Annie lying in a puddle of blood on the bathroom floor. Laurie screams for Maya to go call the police. She's frantic on the phone. Laurie screams at her again. When she goes to check the number, like the address number on the house, Michael grabs her, pulls her into the house, slams down on the kitchen table and stabs her. Well, kills her. Brackett gets told of the phone call coming from his house. Annie dies in Laurie's arms. Michael then begins to break through the bathroom door. Laurie runs out of the other bathroom door on the other side. Brackett shows up in his house and finds Annie dead. You can really feel the emotion in this scene. It's kind of hard to describe because he's feeling anger towards Dr. Loomis and he's feeling sadness at the same time. So he kind of goes into like a state of shock, and the other cops drag him out eventually of the house. And he sits on the porch. So then we go back to Laurie running away. She's screaming for help. One of obviously the car that's driving down the street can't hear her, the first one. She collapses on the street. This other car approaches, stops, and a man puts her in his car, tells her everything's going to be okay. And of course, when he gets into the car, Michael grabs him and throws him through the windshield. Then Michael flips the car down the ditch and grabs Laurie out of it. Takes her to this rundown shack. Brackett is told of where Laurie may be. Laurie can see Michael's mother again. Michael's mother tells her to say, "I love you, Mommy," because obviously she's Angel Myers, so you know that Michael and Laurie share the same mother. If you hadn't made that connection yet, this is where it all kind of comes together. So then Laurie begins to repeat it. All of a sudden this light shines down in the shack. It's a police helicopter. The police have surrounded the entire shack now. Dr. Loomis gets the news in his hotel room. He then arrives. Brackett punches him and puts a gun to his head, telling him he could have saved Laurie if it wasn't for Dr. Loomis being greedy in his book that he wrote. So then Dr. Loomis says that clearly Michael isn't going to go for negotiations. He doesn't understand that. But Dr. Loomis says he can draw him out. So Dr. Loomis runs towards the shack, even though Brackett told the cops to get him out of there completely. Dr. Loomis then enters the shack, yes. He then argues with Laurie that what she is seeing and feeling, because she's being held back by kid Michael, is all in her mind. He tries to tell Michael that he's taking Laurie with him. Then Laurie's mother, or Then Michael's mother says it's almost time. So then all we see is Michael tackles Dr. Loomis through the shack wall, tells him to die, and stabs him, which is the only words Michael has said in the entire 2 films since he was an adult. And then everyone open fires on Michael. He collapses to the ground. Laurie walks out of the shack, following Michael's mother, also her own mother. She walks over to Michael, picks up his knife out of his hand. She then walks over to Dr. Loomis, stands over top of him. I'm assuming she was probably going to kill him. When someone shoots her 3 times, she drops to the ground as well. We then go to an aerial view of Michael, Dr. Loomis, and Laurie laying on the ground. It zooms in on Laurie. Love Hurts starts playing. We then go to this white hallway. So now we're connecting to the White Horse quote at the beginning of the movie. White hallway. Laurie sits at the end of it on a white bed, dressed in all white. She looks up and begins to smile. It kind of shows like her view of the hallway, and then back to her, and then her view of the hallway, and then it goes back to her one more time, and then it shows her view of the hallway again. But this time, Michael's mother and a white horse begin to walk towards her, and then she just continues to smile, and then the credits roll. So that is the that's it. That was the whole movie. Obviously, I've already touched on the mask design in the first one. It's still just as good. I do like the fact that you could kind of see Michael's face. He's got such a big beard in this movie that most of his face is covered. But one thing I did want to touch on is I thought it was one of the scenes that I thought was kind of funny after watching the special features from before is the one scene where the kids are trick-or-treating and Michael's coming down the street. And because the character, or the person who plays Michael in this movie is so tall, this kid opens the gate and starts walking down the street and comes face to face with Michael and says to him, "Are you a giant? Will you be my friend?" And because there's no, the light is behind Michael's head, so it shows, his eyes. But you can't see through, all the hair and the beard, that even though he's supposed to be this big, creepy character, he was actually smiling during that entire scene, so that was kind of funny. And then the kid's sister comes up and goes, "You're not supposed to talk to strangers," and they walk down the street, and then Michael just continues on his way. But yeah, this movie was really well done. Definitely more chills than the first one, even though I do like the first one in this series a bit better, just because it's the more in-depth story of the first one I thought was really well done. This movie's really well done as well, and I actually, going back and watching some of the other Rob Zombie films, didn't realize how many people were brought in altogether now just for these 2 movies. He had a lot of cast members in this movie from the past and the present that he even uses today in some of his movies that he films. But Rob Zombie is honestly one of my favorite horror directors, if not my favorite, I would say. Probably aside from Wes Craven. Wes Craven and Rob Zombie are probably my 2 favorite horror directors. So I didn't really have anything bad to say about this movie. It was really well done. The horror scenes, or the death scenes, I would say, in this one were way more graphic than the first ones, except for maybe Kid Michael in the very first movie. Those ones were pretty gruesome. But there were a lot more killings in this movie, I would say, which really showed more of Michael's rage, I suppose, as compared to the first film. Not quite as violent of an ending as the first one, obviously, because there was no real fight between Laurie and Michael. It was kind of more like her accepting being part of the family. And so I'm assuming that's where she was at the end of the film, now that I'm thinking of it. She was probably at Smith Groves, because she'd obviously lost her mind by the end of the movie, because she wasn't able to be protected anymore. And I would say that's about it. That's all I have to say about this movie. Other than the fact that, sorry, Michael's weapon was not the regular kitchen knife you would find, or the iconic kitchen knife, I guess. It was a hunting knife this time, which I actually found interesting. But I guess because he wasn't able to, like, just walk from house to house anymore, he was kind of in, like, he was kind of out on his own, just, like, walking along. So I guess he would have just found whatever he found wherever he was, right? Because he wasn't actually in Haddonfield for the entire movie. So anyway, this movie was still really well done. Oh right, my rating. This movie, definitely a 10 out of 10 as well. Both these films were excellent. I will be reviewing the Halloween 2018. I'm just not sure where it is on my schedule right now, and I can't... Oh, my planner's over there, but I'm not going to go get it right now. It's okay. So that's everything I have to say for this film. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye for now.